You are Locked On Clippers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, welcome into the Clippers POSTCAST on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed and Locked On Sports LA. I am Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me here. Gotta say, I don't think any of us saw tonight's game against the Celtics in Boston on a back-to-back going the way that it did. Wow. I've been covering sports in LA for ESPN Radio and NBC Sports Radio dating back to 2007. I'm going to share with you a stat that Brian Seaman shared with us during the game here in just a little bit about blowouts against the Celtics right after I turn this music off because it's putting me to sleep. I'm trying something new with the music. Feel free to comment if you hate it because I'm not sure about it yet. Well, the Clippers. Wow. I don't think any of us expected that to happen. 115-96. And it was not ever that close tonight. Clippers led by as many as 36 to the best of my recollection. 36. And the stat that Seaman shared, which I thought was remarkably fascinating. Although the Clippers did not win by 30, they led by 30 for a good portion of the second half. In the history of the Boston Celtics, one of the founding teams in the NBA, they've only ever lost at home by 30 or more 12 times. Again, tonight is not one of those nights, but they've only lost by 30 or more at home 12 times. He then went on to say the Clippers in 1990 something, 91, 92, 93, something like that, lost at home in the month of January 12 times. 12 times in the month of January, the Clippers lost at home by 30 or more. So tonight was a complete and utter rout. I mean, last night's game against the Raptors was more interesting and more fun. I just don't know. The Celtics were off from Jump Street. The Celtics could not make a three to save their life in the first half. 7 of 26 in the first quarter. At halftime, their 3-point percentage was 17%, and they were 4 of 23. My hat was a little bit cockeyed, and I kept trying to straighten it by looking into the camera, and I was moving it the wrong way, making it even more cockeyed. Kind of like the Celtics shooting tonight, all cockeyed. But here's the thing that's interesting. It wasn't like the Clippers were lights out and making all of their shots. They were off too. They got it going, figured it out from the floor, from beyond the arc. They still weren't great. So it's kind of surprising that the Clippers were able to dominate in this fashion. Clippers coming into this game, winners of 4 in a row, now 5 in a row, 21-4 since December 1st. Now 22-4. The Celtics are number 2 on that list. Since December 1st, they were 21-6, now 21-7. They were riding a 3-game win streak. They beat the crap out of Miami a few nights ago, winning by 33. So you were thinking that in spite of the fact that Porzingis was not playing, they still had Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Those guys are solid. Jason Tatum's an all-star. Very good. You thought this was going to be a battle. This is going to be a measuring stick for the Clippers to see where they are. How good is this team? Are they real contenders for the title? People have speculated this could be a championship matchup, but the Celtics came out cold. Clippers were maybe a tad bit warmer. And at the end of the first quarter, Clippers led by 5, 26-21. And then at halftime, is when they started to pull away. It was 55-39 at the break. They won an 8-0 run to end the half. And as I've talked about frequently in the past, the Clippers going on runs multiple times throughout a game has been very, very beneficial to them, but none bigger than in the third quarter when this is the point where they drop the hammer, the dagger, if you will, 20-0 run in the third to pull the lead out to 32. Celtics then scored to stop that 20-0 run, but that's when the Clippers led by as many as 36. So, at times this game was a little bit ugly, but the Clippers really dominated wire to wire in spite of not playing great and being on a back-to-back. And you could kind of tell in the first quarter that they were a little bit off, a little tired. Harden did not play well as far as shooting the ball. Of course, he continued to dish the ball very well. So that's something you have to appreciate and like. When he's not shooting the ball well, it doesn't affect him. He finds other ways to be productive and be helpful to the team. In 27 minutes, he was 2 of 11 and 0 of 6 from beyond the arc. So not a great night for James Harden, coming off a triple-double last night and riding a streak of 3 consecutive games where he had 20 or more and 10 or more. So I guess it was bound to happen. You know, he's not the youngest of guys, but has been playing fantastic. And again, 8 assists, 7 assists and 8 rebounds. So he did other things tonight to help the team out. Paul George off to a bit of a shaky start, missing shots early, but then kind of got it going. 5 of 11, including 3 threes and 17 points. Once again, Kawhi Leonard, the lion's share of the work. When it needed to be in the basket, Kawhi Leonard would put it in the basket. But again, I don't know that there was ever a time during this game when I was like, oh no, this is going to be rough. This is going to be, you know, a tough game for the Clippers to win. Never really felt like that. Even early, you know, when what makes me a little uneasy, I pay a lot of attention to the way a game starts. All right. And maybe it's a waste of time, but it seems like if a team comes out and scores on the first 2 or 3 shots, generally speaking, that is a sign of things to come, and they will take that and build on that. Occasionally, a team will come out, make the first 3 or 4. Last night, I mean, not quite as good of an example, but the Raptors made the first 2 buckets and led 4-0. From there, it was all Clippers. But, a decent example that, all right, that's probably not a good example, but that happens a lot where a team will come out, make the first few shots and put the opponent on their heels, and it's hard to recover from that. So tonight when the Celtics came out and were missing shots left, right, and center, I was like, well, this one's going to be good for the Clippers, because even if they're not on, they're going to figure out a way to score. As we've talked about recently in the postcasts, the Clippers have so many scoring options. Even if one of the big 3, Harden, Paul George, or Kawhi Leonard, is off, then somebody else will pick up the slack, like Amir Coffey. Some interesting stats about Amir Coffey's play of late, and we'll get into that a little bit next, along with our new top 5 bucket list, where we run down the 5 most important and best shots of the night. So we'll get into that right after this. Thank you for joining me on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, we're going to start with eBay Motors. As I mentioned last night, and I'm going to mention it again tonight, our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire every week, they're going to provide you the players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked up for us this week on eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He likes Brandon Miller. Miller should be seeing a big uptick in usage because Terry Rozier has been shipped out. That makes him a must roster player in fantasy. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same goes with your vehicle. I personally am a big fan of eBay Motors. When it comes to doing relatively simple fixes on my car, like brakes or taillights, I go to eBay Motors first and foremost because I know that I'm going to find the right part. It's going to fit the car, and it's going to be a fantastic deal. It's going to save me a lot of money. I've even had very, very good luck. I remember I had this used old BMW that the taillight kept burning out, and I had to find not the bulb, but the actual crystal, the outside, and it was really hard to find, but I found it on eBay Motors multiple times. So they can help you find very unique parts. And again, most importantly, save you money with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors will have it. And with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you'll get your money back. Plus, all the prices are the best. You're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Do it yourself and save money. eBay, guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, Clippers with a dominant win in Boston, TD Garden, over the Celtics, leading by as many as 36 points. They go on to win it by 19, 115-96, because the Celtics waved the white flag at about the 10-minute mark. Since I've been doing the postcasts on Locked On Sports LA for the Clippers podcast feed, I have not seen a dominant victory of this nature. Clippers have dominated. They've been playing fantastic since the first of the year and even back to December 1st. We know that. They have the best record in the league since that date. But they haven't dominated somebody this way. So I was just sitting there going, how is this possible against the Celtics? It can't be just because Kristaps Porzingis is not playing. No, the Clippers weren't shooting that great all in all. In the first half, they were what'd they shoot? From the floor? I didn't write that number down. I know the Celtics only shot 29% from the floor in the first quarter. The Clippers were 10 of 22 from beyond the arc. So not great. Or I'm sorry, 10 of 22 from the floor. They only made 10 threes all night long. So they weren't much better, shooting 25%, as did the Celtics, 25%, but 10 of 40 from beyond the arc. Is that exactly the same number for both the Clippers and the Celtics? It is. Both they were both 10 of 40 for 25%. That's fairly remarkable. But the Celtics from the floor, 36%, going 36 of 100, and the Clippers were 44%, going 45 of 102. So they just had a tough night shooting. The ball was not going through the basket, and they just couldn't figure out how to get it done. And in spite of all that, they did their best to battle, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the Clippers defense did not really let up. They continued to play suffocating defense and make life difficult for the Clippers or for the Celtics. So when you're cruising like that, you think, well, maybe they'll let their foot off the gas and just kind of burn some clock. No, that's not what they did. They continue to score and continue to suffocate the Celtics on defense and make life really difficult for them. And other guys, like I said, wasn't a great night for Paul George. It was a fairly off night for James Harden. Kawhi had 26 points in 29 minutes. And as I mentioned last night, he is your ride or die. He is the guy that you can turn to every night and say, he's going to get it done for us by hook or by crook, as long as he's healthy, knock on wood. But another guy that has been very, very good for them, who I like to talk about on a regular basis, not Norman Powell, who's also been very good, but Amir Coffey. They shared a stat tonight. Over the last 5 games, Amir Coffey has been shooting 73% from the floor. That's remarkable. Tonight he was 4 of 9 for 10 points in 26 minutes. So he was getting things done, and I believe, if I'm correct, did make the bucket list. Yes, he did. He's an honorable mention for Amir Coffey on the bucket list. So let's get to that. Top 5 buckets of the night from the Clippers' dominant victory over the Celtics in Boston. In at number 5, Kawhi Leonard had a 3 at the 6:27 mark of the first quarter. That's when the Celtics had jumped out a little bit. Not much, but that tied the game at 9. He had 12 in the first quarter. So a big first quarter for Kawhi Leonard. And it felt like at that point, when we're thinking this is going to be a tight game and a tough battle, it felt like they needed that 3. It was his first 3 of the night. So a big 3 from Kawhi there. And from there, they just kind of built on that. As for the 4th basket of the night from Daniel Theis, a bucket and a foul at the 8:20 mark to make it a 10-point advantage. I always like that 10-point line of demarcation. When the Clippers surpass that, it always feels a little bit more comfortable. Unfortunately, he missed the and one, but still a 10-point victory on a nice layup and a foul from Daniel Theis. And the assist came from a surprising place in Terrence Mann. It's usually James Harden or Russell Westbrook with the assist. Kawhi on occasion will, get in on that action with the triple-double a few nights ago. But Terrence Mann tonight, a good night sharing the ball. They were all sharing the ball, making extra passes. And that's one of the things that I really love about the way this team is playing of late. The honorable mention goes to Amir Coffey at the 6:39 mark. Coffey with a big layup from Norm Powell. Again, an unlikely source with the assist. That made it 41-28. So it was a sweet pass, almost an alley-oop, but a very nice bucket with the kind of thrilling basket that gets the team off the bench and so forth. Then in the number 3, Terrence Mann hit a 3 at the 2:15 mark of the second to maintain a 3-point or 10-point advantage. That made it 50-37. It came right after a timeout. So Ty Lue, who had a look on his face tonight of worry in the first half. By the time the second half rolled around, that look of worry had passed. But he had that stressed look on his face a few times early in this game. Called a timeout right there in the final couple of minutes of the first half. Right after the timeout, Terrence Mann comes out, hits a big 3 to make it a 13-point advantage. For number 2, James Harden with a beautiful assist to Terrence Mann for a dunk. That was at the 6:35 mark of the third. It made it 72-46 when we were looking at this game and looking at the score saying, what? It's 72-46. It forced a Celtics timeout, and the number 1 bucket of the night, Paul George 3 at the 38-second mark. I love those late baskets right before a quarter. This one was right at the end of the first half. It made it 55-37. So plenty of big buckets for the Clippers in the first half, not so much in the second half. They didn't really need a lot of that. They were pulling away and dominating. That 20-0 run, though, in the third quarter was huge. I mean, just a 20-0 run against the Celtics. Everyone was just blown away, reeling, and couldn't quite figure out how this was happening. But again, they were doing it on defense, and Kawhi with clutch shots. Again, Kawhi Leonard leading the way for the Clippers, finishing with 26 points, which included 3 threes. We'll take a break, come back and wrap up with our superlatives. All right, it's time for Grammarly. Grammar is something I'm a big fan of, and I try to correct people when it doesn't seem awkward or uncomfortable. But one of the great things about Grammarly, when it's helping you write better, so it never really seems awkward or uncomfortable. I'll just say it to their face. That's not how you say that. It's safely, not safe. But anyway, when it comes to writing, Grammarly is there to support you from start to finish. For over 10 years, Grammarly has been powered by AI technology you can trust to help you across all the places where you write the most. In the past, when I've had to write scripts for radio and so forth, 60-second scripts, I've run into plenty of times. I've run into roadblocks, brain lock, etc. Grammarly would have been so helpful in those situations. Just to get started can be the hardest part. I once had a colleague say, just start writing. Well, with Grammarly, starting the process is a whole lot more simple and a lot more easy. If you need to polish your writing, Grammarly can help you paraphrase and rewrite to be more concise instantly, which is a big one for me. It gives you prompts. It'll say, would you like to improve this, or would you like to shorten this? I know for me that happens a lot where I'm a little too wordy. So Grammarly has been very helpful for me when it comes to shortening things and making them more concise. If you need to draft an important email and you don't want to say it the wrong way to an important person that you work with and you don't know where to start, Grammarly has suggestions to jumpstart your writing. The best part is it's all free. My favorite 4-letter word, free. Start by being more productive at work. Go to Grammarly.com/podcast to download it for free today. That's Grammarly, GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. All right, Clippers in a dominant, surprising win over the Boston Celtics in Boston. The Celtics with the best record in the NBA, now 35-11. This is just their second loss on their home floor at TD Garden. The Clippers move a game over 500 on the road and get into the 30-win plateau on the season. They're now 30-14, and of course, dating back to December 1st, that important date for the Clippers. They're now 22-4, continuing to be the best team in the NBA since that date, and now have won 5 in a row. So it's time for our superlatives. Tonight, we'll start with an obvious one. Best dressed. Once again, the guy who comes out every night looking sharp, both literally and as a basketball player, Kawhi Leonard. Just playing defense, scoring baskets, being efficient. There was one play tonight. I wrote down the touches of the ball because it was such a fantastic play. So Harden had the ball. He passed it to Mann, who was under the basket going for a layup. He got some pressure, defense in his face. So Mann kicks it to Kawhi. Then Kawhi starts playing iso ball out by the wing near the perimeter. And I'm thinking he's just going to go up and shoot, but he doesn't. He then, he passed it to Mann. Mann then shot, missed, got the rebound, kicked it to Paul George, who made a three. So it was just the Clippers at their best, passing the ball, waiting for the right opportunity. And it just goes to show you how dynamic Kawhi Leonard can be, in my opinion. At this point in time, it was late in the clock. It looked like Terrence Mann had the easy bucket, but the defense was in his face. He didn't take the shot, so he passed it to Kawhi. You thought Kawhi was just going to take over and be Kawhi Leonard, but he didn't, right? He passed. Terrence Mann got the rebound, passed it to Paul George, who made a three, and it wasn't super exciting, but for me, I found it to be very, very proficient and solid basketball, which I really like. As for our second superlative, most likely to succeed. And tonight, this is for the guy who did the most in the least amount of time off of the bench. Both Daniel Theis and Amir Coffey played the most time off the bench in 26 minutes. Daniel Theis was 8 of 9 for 18 points. Can't get much more efficient than that. So Daniel Theis was our most likely to succeed player off the bench. And I don't think he's ever made it to superlatives. So how about a round of applause for Daniel Theis making it to superlatives, going 8 of 9 for the floor, including 2 threes. So a big night for him. He had 18 points. He had 7 boards and a couple of assists. So a fantastic night for Daniel Theis, fairly unheralded, playing behind Mason Plumlee right now. But gets a lot of time, gets a fair amount of time. Honorable mention tonight to Amir Coffey, 4 of 9, missed all 4 of his threes, but did have 10 points. So there are your superlatives, just 2 tonight. I don't feel the need to flaunt this dominant win over the Celtics, because I look at it and I say, do we feel good about this? What does this tell us? All right. Do we feel dominant? Do we feel like the Clippers made a statement tonight? Maybe you do. I don't know that I do. I look at this and I say, well, the Celtics were off. This was not their night, right? So you don't they had their starters out of the game at the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown sitting on the bench, Jason Tatum, all-star on the bench. He did play 30 minutes. Here's the line for the Celtics. Jason Tatum was the only guy on the team regarding the starters who was in double figures. He was 8 of 18, hit a couple of threes for 21 points. Al Horford dislocated his finger. That wasn't pretty. So he didn't play a lot, only 19 minutes, didn't have a bucket at all. So an 0 for on the night for him. Drew Holiday, UCLA Bruin, was 2 of 11, 1 for 7 from beyond the arc for 7 points. White had 2 points. Jaylen Brown in 24 minutes made 3 shots out of 13, no threes for 8 points. So I don't know that the Celtics are going to be that cold anytime again soon. Again, they've only lost 2 times on their home floor. Off the bench, Kornet was pretty effective for them. Clippers had a tough time dealing with him. He's a very big man. Scored 11 points in 18 minutes, going 5 of 10. And Pritchard in 21 minutes was 4 of 8 for 12 points. They got a lot of guys in there, making some room for the bench, the scrubs. Sorry, nothing personal, but when you're up that big, they were clearing the bench, and the starters were just watching, not getting hurt. So Norman Powell, 17 minutes tonight for the Clippers, 2 of 7 for 4 points. He wasn't quite as spectacular, but he did have 4 rebounds and 2 assists. As for Westbrook's energy tonight, it was a lot of the same, but maybe not quite as fervish as it usually is. He was, is that the word fervish or feverish? Fervent and feverish. I combined a word there. I made a word up. Fervish. Not a word. Grammarly probably would have known that and told me not to use the word fervish because it's not a word. It's feverish and fervent. Anyway, Russell Westbrook playing with a ton of energy tonight in 15 minutes, 2 of 9. So he missed a fair amount of deep balls. Whenever Russell Westbrook has a good night, the next night, generally speaking, shooting wise, is not as good because he gets a little, cocky, a little ahead of himself, a little aggressive. So only made 2 shots out of 9 tonight, missed a couple of threes. So he didn't get crazy with it, but did other things, much like James Harden did with an off night shooting. Westbrook had just 4 points, but 4 rebounds and 5 assists for Westbrook. So those are the kind of numbers I like to see. Again, when a guy's not shooting well, that they do other things to contribute. Terrence Mann started again, had a very good night, 24 minutes. He went 6 of 12 for 14 points, had 1 3, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. That 3 assists from Terrence Mann, you like to see. That's not normally what he's about. He's a catch and shoot guy in the corner, also very adept at scoring in the paint. But tonight, shooting the ball very well. James Harden again, 2 of 11, no threes, going 0 for 6. 5 of 6 from the line, though, had 9 points. Mason Plumlee with 8 points. Perfect, 4 of 4. You like to see that. No really highlight reel buckets from him like last night in Toronto. Kawhi Leonard took care of that for the most part. 29 minutes, 10 of 15 for 26 points. And Paul George, 3 threes. He went 5 of 11 in 22 minutes for 17 points. You have to feel good about this, Clipper fans. This is a dominant win. It's a statement win of sorts. I don't know that it means all that much for them down the stretch. I don't know that it's a pound your chest, we got to have this one, but it's a great start to the Grammy road trip. They're 0-2. They beat the Celtics, who have the best record in the league. You have to feel good about that. They continue to play defense. They continue to have very nice ball movement. And all in all, hey, a big win is a big win. And you have to feel very confident building about this. I know I do. Leading by as many as 36. They win it by 19, 115-96. So we are off tomorrow. Back at it on Monday in Cleveland. We'll see you then. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Have a good Sunday. I will talk to you on Monday.
You are Locked On Clippers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.